We grow up being told like you shouldn't talk to strangers, right? But when you're solo traveling, you basically meet strangers all the time. So I traveled around Australia for 3 months. I don't know if that's new to you, but I recently shared a story on my channel that I didn't think I'd be talking about anytime soon. And I'm back again with this video to share with you some more secrets from Australia. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, welcome to today's video. Okay, so we're just gonna start with a little bit of a backstory and talk about safety when traveling. How safe did I feel as a young solo female backpacker in Australia? Obviously that is where I spent my 3 months solo traveling in my gap year because, you know, lockdown had other plans for us. I talked about this in a vlog in my Holy Ghost solo series, so you can watch that video. I will put it in a card and link it down below. But like, I generally felt very, very safe in Australia. It was an incredibly friendly country, and I mean, I spent a good mix of time, you know, on my own doing tours or just with people that I'd met, sort of thing. And shout out to Daryl who like put together and organized my whole trip. But basically I was staying in very reputable friendly hostels my whole trip. Okay, so when I think back and I try and pinpoint the moments when I felt like uncomfortable, there are 4 that spring to mind. So yeah, the first 3 are kind of just minor, and then the 4th one I'm gonna spend the majority of this video talking about, because when I've shared that with my friends and like family, I get the same reaction every time. So the first one was when I was on my own. I was in Darwin, and I just remember running down this really busy high street in Darwin. It was kind of like late evening, and I just remember lots of men just shouting and whistling at me. I think they were outside a pub or something, and yeah, that made me feel pretty uncomfortable. But it wasn't something I hadn't experienced before, because in the UK you get people whistling and shouting when you're running, and especially when you're running like in shorts and a vest top, you know. But Darwin was very hot. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about running in Darwin because we all kind of know what happened as well in Darwin. But yeah, men whistling, it wasn't new to me, but thank goodness I was running. I ran back to the hostel and I felt fine. The second experience, we were exploring Kakadu National Park. I can also link the relevant vlogs down below and in cards, so you can maybe watch those videos if you want in full. It was a really small group of us. We got to know each other really well.
Hello! Just chilling a bit in here.
This was personal choice. If a snake comes right now,
that would be seriously my worst nightmare. Oh. Hi Holly.
Hi.
I've recently been watching back a lot of my Holy Ghost solo series, and this has allowed me to think back to all of these experiences and, you know, reminisce. It was kind of like a camping tour. We went to different campsites, and by this point I was very used to camping. We actually had tents instead of like swags, which I've been sleeping in for the majority of the time in the outback, so I was very, very happy to have a tent, you know. And so basically we were still exploring the national park on day 2, and we went to lots of like water holes, and we were doing a lot of swimming.
Are you sure there aren't any crocodiles?
I'd be dead if there was.
We'll try it. Oh, how deep is it?
It was the first water hole I think we went to, and I mean, this was on a tour, so like you can feel uncomfortable and get yourself into like a kind of sticky situation in any context. You don't always have to be on your own. So we've been swimming, splashing around, jumping in off the rocks, and just having basically a great time. But we were just getting dry at the end to move on to a new swimming hole, and basically there was just this man there. He was with his family, and like I was basically just wrapping a towel around myself and putting some shorts on or something over my swimming costume, and he was just making really, really inappropriate comments to me in front of like people he was with. And yeah, the tour guide wasn't there at the time. There were some others in the tour group, but we basically just moved on really quickly. I can't remember exactly what he said, and I don't want to share exactly what he said in this video, but it was just very, very inappropriate, let's just say that. I just wanted to basically move on and forget about it, and that's exactly what I did. So that is the second occurrence. But the third one was in a different location. So this was in Brisbane, a big city on the east coast of Australia. I hadn't been in a big city in a really long time, so I was really excited to be in Brisbane. I was only there for like 2 days, so a really short duration. I'd literally just arrived, checked in at the hostel, the Brisbane YHA. As I said, I stayed at really great hostels. The YHAs in particular, they're just so great in Australia. They're everywhere pretty much. If you remember, I basically went to get this really expensive but incredible looking smoothie or acai bowl. That was my mission for the afternoon, and I literally just stepped foot outside the hostel, and this man, I think he must have been drunk or something, but this man just literally stumbled into me almost fell into me. I like dodged out the way and was shouting and swearing at me, and I think they were drunk, to be honest with you. But yeah, basically I was lucky in this situation because there was a guy probably a bit older than me walking behind me, and I remember afterwards when I kind of had gotten away from this man who was shouting at me, he like stopped me and asked if I was okay, which was actually really reassuring. And then I just got on my little mission to find my expensive acai bowl. But yeah, moving on to the main story of the video. As I said, at the time I didn't think it was that major, but looking back on it and putting all the pieces of the jigsaw together, let's just say I'm very glad, as I said before, I got out of the situation. And Moody Holly with like ultimate resting face really did come to the rescue here. Honestly, it saved me, okay? You have not seen the Holly stare, okay, but I am so glad. I'm like, congratulations Holly, it actually saved you in the situation, okay? It really did. Not save me, but it got me out of the situation. I can tell you the actual date. It was my birthday, okay? So the 15th of December 2019, and I'd literally just arrived in Alice Springs. I was staying at the Alice Springs YHA. Alice Springs YHA! So again, a really great hostel. It was pretty small, this hostel, but I just finished a tour of the Outback. So the Red Centre of Australia. It was an amazing adventure of a tour, let's just say that. Getting up super early at 4 AM to drive for like 5 hours, drive through nothing but desert and red sand, so much hiking in the heat. It was such a crazy tour. So we arrived in Alice Springs late afternoon, evening, and as I said, it was my birthday. I was turning 22, and yeah, it was a crazy birthday. I was really like emotional that day, especially at the end of the day. I just couldn't believe that I was in Australia on the other side of the globe turning 22. I think there were a couple of other people who were staying in the hostel that had also finished the tour with me, but they were leaving quite soon afterwards. And so yeah, we were dropped off at the Alice Springs YHA. I found my room and, you know, got settled in. I like opened some of my birthday cards that I had in my backpack from my grandparents. I phoned mom and everything. So that you understand this story, I need to describe the layout of the rooms in this hostel. As I said, it was pretty small, the Alice Springs YHA. I'd been given a single room on my birthday, so I was really happy and like hyped about that. But basically the way in which the hostel and the single rooms anyway were laid out, you kind of walked through the reception and then you just kept walking, and on your right hand side there were like stairs up to the rooms, and at the top of the stairs you could either turn right or left and go into a single room on the right or a single room on the left. So you just go up and then there were 2 rooms on either side. I was on the left hand side if you walked up the stairs, and then there was obviously another single room on the right. This is Alice Springs YHA. So my room's just up there, and then the pool is just down here. Also in the rooms, this actually is important now, there was a very small window that you could look out of and you could see onto like the swimming pool. There was a really small swimming pool in the YHA. There were like some seats, there was like the kitchen area, but you basically looked onto the swimming pool out of this really small window out of the hostel room. Before it was getting too dark, I think I went out to like the Coles or the Woolies to get some food for later, but basically I came back to my room and I decided, you know, I was like, this is my birthday, I'm gonna go swimming in the pool on my birthday, because it was really quiet at this hostel and nobody was in it. I'd never been swimming on my birthday. My birthday is in December, so in the UK it's normally freezing cold, and I was like, I'm gonna go swimming on my birthday. Like, that's so cool to do, right? So I put my swimming costume on, my stripy swimming costume, which I wore a lot, and then my goggles because, you know, I wanted to swim. And yeah, I spent a good like 45 minutes to an hour just swimming in the pool on my own, having like a lot of fun. There were like floaties and inflatables, and you know, I was just having a lot of fun. Like, I just turned 22, I was in Australia living my life. Okay, so just have that in your mind for now. Holly had been swimming. Okay, we're gonna fast forward to the next day, and I basically went on a short run kind of around Alice Springs to do a bit of exploring. We're not going to talk about whether or not I should have been running in Alice Springs when it was super hot, but anyway, I did go on a short run. I'd like run around the block basically and go around a few times, and each time I'd run past the hostel and just look into the reception and like wave at the receptionist and, you know, go around again. The receptionist at the hostel was also honestly amazing at the Alice Springs YHA, because basically in the midst of all this, mum had tried to send some packages and they weren't really arriving. They were stuck at customs, and so the receptionist was really trying to sort this out. When I was kind of coming to the end of my run, I got stopped by this guy. Okay, so this guy must have been, I don't know, in their 40s, late 40s, early 50s, I'm gonna say. A middle-aged white man, let's just say that. Yeah, they like stopped me on my run and I was like, hi, yeah, I'm really hot and sweaty, like why are you kind of stopping me? Obviously I didn't say that, but yeah, I got stopped and just smiled and said hi. I can't remember exactly what they asked me, but one of the questions in particular was, are you a dancer? You're a dancer, aren't you, right? And I was like, what? Like, how do you know that? You've never met me, you've never spoken to me before, how do you know I'm a dancer, right? Like, what? That freaked me out. Okay, so I finished my run, got back to the hostel, and yeah, didn't really process it, but I figured out at this point, because I'd seen them around the hostel, it wasn't a very busy hostel, there weren't very many people in it, but I noticed that he was the person in the room opposite to me. So you go up the stairs, I was in the room on the left and he was on the room on the right, and I was like, great, so I'm living opposite the guy who knows I'm a dancer. How do you know I'm a dancer? I was still so confused. I spoke to Mum about this on the phone and I was like, yeah, I bumped into this guy and he knew I was, you know, a dancer. And she was like, oh, don't worry, Holly's probably just being friendly. And, you know, obviously Mum had no clue. She wasn't in Australia with me. She had no idea of the context, the setup. And, you know, I just thought too, I was like, yeah, you know, let's just not think about it. They're probably just being friendly. But then I started to think, you know, I was like, how did he know that? I also now, having watched back my vlogs, can see how I think this happened. I think that when I was swimming on the previous day on my birthday in the swimming pool, I think he was probably looking or watching me swimming. I don't know for how long. They may have just glanced out, but they might have been watching me for a longer period. I don't know. I think that's maybe where he got that information from, and then he maybe saw me running and thought, you know, I'm pretty energetic. You do see the light of that room go on and off in the time lapse. I will try and insert that footage, but basically that is not the full story, okay? That is like the first half. I was then later that evening doing my washing. Classic me, I had a day off from tours and I needed to get on top of my washing. I had so much stuff I needed to wash. Any type of washing takes me a century to do. But yeah, I was sorting out my washing and this guy, the same guy, he comes over to me. And it was like late-ish, no, early-ish evening, I would say. He comes over to me and says hi, and I'm like, hi, obviously, to be friendly. This is when it starts to get a bit strange as well. He started to like tell me a bit about himself. He basically said where he lived, what he did as a job, why he travels, what he was gonna do next, big projects he's working on, and basically like, I don't know, trying to sell himself. And I was just a bit confused really as to why he was giving me all this information when I literally hadn't said anything but hi. And then he was like, oh, so do you kind of need help with your washing at all? And I was at that point adamant that I was gonna stop this right there. I did not want this guy talking to me. I didn't feel comfortable at this point anymore. And so this is when I put on my glare and I literally said to him quite forcefully, I was like, no thank you, I'm fine, I'm just trying to get on with my washing. I'd appreciate it if you left me to do my washing. Basically, I literally said that. It was probably a more condensed version, but I basically told him in a nice way to leave me alone because, you know, I was busy doing my washing and I wanted to get on. I didn't want him talking to me. He was just like standing in the door of the washing machine room, the utility room, I don't know, and just like watching me do my washing, and he was telling me about himself and I was like, no. I gave him the biggest evils in the whole entire world and it was successful. He basically got the message and was like, okay, and he left me alone, and he left me alone for the rest of the time whilst I was in that hostel, okay? But my friends, the story continues. So yeah, this same evening I'd done my washing eventually. I was in the kitchen and making my food, and I noticed that evening, so it was probably around like 9 or 10 p.m. at this point, he was in the kitchen and I noticed in the kitchen that he started to talk to this other girl. She was probably about my age, maybe a bit older, I'd say. Yes, I felt a bit uncomfortable when he was speaking to me when I was doing my washing, but at that point I just was trying to forget about it and just get on with what I was doing. So yeah, it wasn't my business, but I did clock that, right? And I had my dinner, I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning. I had another day at Alice Springs before I was moving on basically. But another key piece of information here is that this guy who stayed in the room opposite to me, I don't know why, but he never really went into his room with his shoes on, or he had multiple pairs of shoes, but he always had a pair of shoes outside of his room on the very small landing at the top of the staircase that led up to the two rooms. Outside of his room in the morning, there were his shoes that had been there literally like the whole time. But this morning when I woke up outside of his room, there was not only one pair of shoes, there were two. One of the pairs was obviously his pair of shoes, but the second I'm pretty sure belonged to the girl that he started talking to. I cannot be sure, but they were a female pair of shoes. Nobody knows what happened. We can sit here and speculate, and we can sit here and hope that everything was, you know, fine. but it's just a bit of a weird story. Like, I don't know if I should have done anything differently in this situation, whether I should have like flagged it up, but you know, I didn't want to step into somebody else's business. When I was traveling, I was thinking about so much that this was something I didn't really ponder at the time. It's only now that I've come home and, you know, I've watched my vlogs back and I've put the pieces of the jigsaw together that it's come to light that this was actually a really strange story. So to summarize, the take-home messages basically from this video are, you don't have to be solo traveling to find yourself in these uncomfortable and semi-awkward situations. Whether you're really close to home or you're on the other side of the globe, it can happen to anyone and anywhere. You just need to be aware of it, and you need to be able to recognize those red flags and those warning signs. Like, I noticed this guy was paying too much attention to me and he was trying to talk to me, and I noticed that I wanted to stop that straight away. Mine wasn't like an emergency situation, okay? This guy was just being too friendly, like overly friendly, okay? And so I could deal with it myself, but if you need to get help immediately if you do feel unsafe and uncomfortable. I also did, as I said in the safety video, one of the vlogs I did, I had a panic button. But yeah, I hope you, I don't know, enjoyed. I'm not gonna say enjoyed, but let's just say like the video if you would like to hear more of my stories, because I did actually write down when I was watching my vlogs some of the things that I remembered and some of the things that cropped up that I didn't mention at the time. Let me know down below, leave your comments down below, subscribe. But yeah, I hope you, I don't know, I hope you leave this video taking something away from it. I will speak to you very soon in another video. But yeah, until then, I'm gonna say bye and I'll see you very soon. Bye.